और मैं निवेदन कर रहा था कि ये चर्चा कर रहे थे कि ये जो जिन लोगों का कैडर बनाया है, जो चुनाव आयुक्त बनेंगे या मुख्य चुनाव आयुक्त बनेंगे, इनमें से कभी कोई पंचायत का चुनाव लड़ा हुआ आदमी नहीं होगा। ये माननीय सुरजेवाला ने कहा। माननीय सुरजेवाला जी, जिला निर्वाचन अधिकारी डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर होता है, मजिस्ट्रेट होता है, वो कब चुनाव लड़ा हुआ होता है? विधानसभा का चुनाव का अधिकारी एसडीएम होता है, वो चुनाव कब लड़ा हुआ होता है? एक भी आदमी चुनाव लड़ा हुआ नहीं होता, और चुनाव लड़े हुए आदमी को बनाते तो फिर चुनाव आयोग ही नहीं होता। इसलिए सबसे बढ़िया व्यवस्था ये की गई है। आज ये बात आप जब करते हैं उस समय कुछ बात करनी चाहिए थी, वो तो नहीं की। मुख्य बात जो आपको करनी थी वो ये करनी थी कि भारतीय लोकतंत्र में और इसमें समस्या क्या है। इस समय जो सबसे बड़ी समस्या है वो है प्रजातांत्रिक पारिवारिक सामंतवाद। गोस्वामी समिति की सिफारिश करी, उसकी बात करी, उस पर बोल रहे थे, लेकिन सबसे बड़ी समस्या आज भारतीय लोकतंत्र के सामने है पारिवारिक प्रजातांत्रिक सामंतवाद। और वो जो कह रहे थे कि ये ईडी का नाम नहीं लेते, इंडिया जो बोल रहे थे, ये इंडिया इसके खिलाफ खड़ा होगा। ये इंडिया पारिवारिक प्रजातांत्रिक सामंतशाही प्रवृत्तियों का प्रतिनिधित्व करता है। एक भी मैं आज बताना चाहता हूं, यहां पर 7 लोग एक परिवार के मेंबर और मंत्री हैं। वो है प्रजातंत्र लोकतंत्र के लिए खतरा। उस लोकतंत्र की बात नहीं करते। चुनाव आयोग की जो व्यवस्था की गई है सभापति महोदय, ये निष्पक्षता के लिए की गई और केवल सुप्रीम कोर्ट का निर्णय और सुप्रीम कोर्ट के निर्णय के आधार पर नहीं की गई। सुप्रीम कोर्ट का निर्णय डायरेक्शन है, लेकिन एक व्यवस्था करनी थी कि 1991 के कानून में इस प्रकार की कोई व्यवस्था नहीं थी। 324 के अंतर्गत और 191 कानून की व्यवस्था के नहीं होने के कारण से ये एक व्यवस्था की गई, और ये व्यवस्था उन व्यवस्थाओं से बेहतर है। जो व्यवस्था आप लोग पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन, यूनियन पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन में जो नियुक्तियां होती है, वो नियुक्तियां कैसे होती है, उनसे बेहतर स्थिति की इसमें व्यवस्था की गई है। अनुसूचित जाति आयोग, उससे बेहतर समिति की व्यवस्था की गई है। राष्ट्रीय पिछड़ा वर्ग आयोग, उससे बढ़िया व्यवस्था की गई है। राष्ट्रीय अनुसूचित जनजाति आयोग, उससे बढ़िया व्यवस्था की गई है। और अन्य निकायों में जो नियुक्तियां होती है, उससे भी बढ़िया और व्यापक व्यवस्था की गई है कि उनमें तो प्रतिपक्ष का नेता होता ही नहीं है। तो वो सारे जब संवैधानिक रूप से ठीक ढंग से काम कर रहे हैं, तो फिर ये नियुक्तियां और ये आयोग ठीक ढंग से काम क्यों नहीं करेगा? माननीय उपसभापति महोदय, मैं निवेदन करना चाहता हूं कि भारत की 2 चीजों का अध्ययन करने के लिए दुनिया भर से लोग आते हैं। पहला है भारत का चुनाव। भारत के जैसा चुनाव विश्व के किसी देश में नहीं है, विश्व के किसी देश में नहीं है। आज आचार संहिता लगने से पहले जो चीफ सेक्रेटरी और सेक्रेटरी मुख्यमंत्री और मंत्रियों के साथ थे, जिस दिन आचार संहिता लगती है वे चुनाव आयोग के अधीन हो जाते हैं और चुनाव आयोग का अधीन होकर निष्पक्ष रूप से काम करते हैं। उसी हम का भी चुनाव करते हैं, हमको शपथ भी दिलाते हैं।
माननीय तिवारी जी प्लीज इधर बोलो।
मैं आपसे ही कर रहा हूँ साहब।
जी जी, आपस में बात ना करें।
आपस में नहीं करे साहब
जी।
तो मैं ये बात कर रहा था। दूसरी बात कर रहा था कि जब मैंने कहा था कि टीएन शेषन साहब से आने से पहले, मैं भुक्तभोगी हूँ सर। मैं 1972 से इन चुनावों से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ, स्वतंत्र से चुनाव लड़ रहा हूँ, लड़ा रहा हूँ और अब तक यहाँ पर पहुँचा हूँ। मैंने देखा है कि जब चुनाव होते थे तो सरकार की चलती थी, तब चुनाव के पहले दिन तक ट्रांसफर के लेटर कांग्रेस के नेता लेकर आते थे। वोट दो, ये ट्रांसफर का लेटर लो, वोट दो, ये ट्रांसफर का लेटर लो, तब तक काम करते थे। ये तो आचार संहिता क्या होती है तब पता लगा। और जब टीएन शेषन ने इतना काम किया तो उन्होंने देखा ये तो बहुत खतरनाक काम है, तो उसकी संख्या बढ़ा दी, 2 कर दिए, अब 3 हो गए हैं। तो जजमेंट के आधार पर निर्णय होगा। तो ये चुनाव आयोग की प्रक्रिया को ठीक करने के लिए हम इस प्रकार का काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन चुनाव सुधारों की बहुत बड़ी आवश्यकता है समाप्त। अभी गोस्वामी समिति की सिफारिश की बात की, प्रकाश वीर समिति की सिफारिश भी आई हुई थी, उन चुनाव सुधारों के बारे में कुछ नहीं किया गया। अगर किया गया है तो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के द्वारा किया गया है। 1951 में उन्होंने कानून बनाया और खुद नियुक्तियां कर देते थे। तो कमेटी भी नहीं थी, तब तो सर्च भी नहीं था, तब तो रिसर्च भी नहीं था, ये बना देते थे, ये कर लेते थे। लेकिन अब जब ये कमेटियां बनने लगी और जब विपक्ष में बैठे और जब इसका थोड़ा टेस्ट आने लगा, तब इनके दिमाग में इस प्रकार की तकलीफ हो गई। इसलिए इस प्रकार का काम ये बार बार करते हैं। अगर आपको चुनाव सुधार करना है तो चुनाव में धन का जो प्रयोग है, उस धन के प्रयोग को कम करना पड़ेगा।
वो आपको मौका मिलेगा झा जी, प्लीज। अच्छा चलिए।
तो चुनाव सुधार के लिए पैसे का, अब पैसा कहां से आएगा? तब पैसा आता है चुनाव में ब्लैक मनी का, और ब्लैक मनी जब पकड़ी जाती है तो समस्या होती है। तो कहीं 58 करोड़ पकड़े जाते हैं बंगाल में, तो कभी 350 करोड़ पकड़े जाते हैं। तो ये सारा का सारा पैसा लोकसभा चुनाव के लिए इकट्ठा किया था, लेकिन इस बार चुनाव आयोग ने इन 5 राज्यों के चुनाव में ऐसी व्यवस्था की कि आज तक जितना पैसा नहीं पकड़ा गया, उतना करोड़ों रुपए का पैसा इस चुनाव के आचार संहिता के काल में पकड़ा गया। ये इतनी शुद्धता, इतनी शुचिता, इतनी पवित्रता हमने इस चुनाव की कायम की। तो एक तो मैं करना चाहता हूँ। दूसरा, सभापति महोदय, हमारी तरफ से आप बता दें कि पार्टियों के अंदर आंतरिक लोकतंत्र जब तक नहीं होगा, जब तक सुधार लागू नहीं होगा। हमारे यहाँ तो आंतरिक लोकतंत्र है। अटल जी से लेकर, आडवाणी जी से लेकर, मुरली मनोहर से लेकर, वेंकैया जी से लेकर, अमित शाह जी से लेकर, हिंदुस्तान के सारे प्रांतों से लोग आए।
प्लीज आप बैठ जाएं प्लीज। हाँ आप बोले।
और राजनाथ सिंह जी से लेकर सारे प्रांतों के लोग आए, और एक सामान्य कार्यकर्ता भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अध्यक्ष पद तक पहुंच गया। लेकिन उधर जो पारिवारिक प्रजातांत्रिक सामंतवादी पार्टियां हैं, उनकी क्या हालत है साहब? कोई बन भी जाए तो चलता उनके कहने से है। तो मैं समझता हूं कि जब तक ये टिकट वितरण की व्यवस्था परिवारवादी को के हाथ में रहेगी, तब तक ये व्यवस्था ठीक नहीं हो सकती। इसलिए चुनाव की व्यवस्था को और ठीक करने के लिए पार्टियों के आंतरिक लोकतंत्र को, मंत्री महोदय, पार्टियों के आंतरिक लोकतंत्र को सुधारने की बात भी होनी चाहिए। मैं माननीय सभापति महोदय के इस मत से पूर्ण सहमत हूं कि कानून बनाने का अधिकार पूर्णतः संसद का है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट कोई कानून बनाने का आदेश नहीं दे सकती, वो निर्देश कर सकती है, और जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने लिखा है वही कानून में आए, ये जरूरी नहीं है। कानून को हम लोकतंत्र की भावनाओं के अनुसार और जनोपयोगी बनाने का काम इस संसद को करना है, और वो काम हम कर रहे हैं। इसलिए सभापति महोदय, मैं आपसे एक निवेदन करना चाहता हूं कि इस कानून में 4 बातें प्रमुख रूप से हैं। पहला,
आप
प्रक्रिया
ने जो समय दिया था वो खत्म हो चुका है। आप बोले अपनी पार्टी का समय लेंगे।
नहीं, मैं समाप्ति कर रहा हूं माननीय सभापति महोदय। तो मैं तो इतना ही निवेदन कर रहा हूं कि वो दल जिन्होंने लोकतंत्र का गला घोटा, वो दल जिन्होंने आपातकाल लगाया, जिन्होंने अपने सचिव को मुख्य चुनाव आयुक्त बनाया, उनके मुंह से ये सारी बातें शोभा नहीं देती। भारतीय जनता पार्टी आंतरिक लोकतंत्र की पार्टी है, और देश के लोकतंत्र को भी पवित्र रखने के लिए यह विधेयक लेकर आई है। इसलिए मैं इस विधेयक का पूरा समर्थन करता हूं। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद माननीय श्री घनश्याम तिवारी जी। नाउ ऑनरेबल श्री जवाहर सरकार जी, 18 मिनट्स।
Sir, I thank you for this opportunity. I thank my fellow members for giving me this opportunity. I thank my party, my chairman of my party, the National General Secretary, for giving me this opportunity. This opportunity is not the discussion of one more bill. Please try to understand that today we are dealing rather innocuously on the amendment of a bill which actually seeks to touch, to shake the very foundations of our democracy. Our democracy rests on free and fair elections. And today we are discussing the key, the structure and the mechanics of that election under the guise of a simple law. Now, why do we need to bother about Indian elections? Why do we need? Just a few examples, sir, just a few statistics. We claim to be the mother of democracy. Maybe we can expand on this some other time. But we have the largest electorate in the world, 92 crores at the last count. We have the largest democracy, functioning democracy. We have 4 million EVMs. The management of 4 million EVMs crisscrossing the country calls for supreme efforts. Sir, I have had the honor of conducting the 1998 and 1999 parliament elections as the chief electoral officer. I know the extreme difficulties under which officers function. The same officer, the same personnel who may be slovenly in his daily work rises to new heights. Rises to new heights because a surge of national duty overtakes them. It is time to salute their efforts. It's not a question of whether they went through an election process or not. Sir, for a simple election, for a national election, we have 20 lakh policemen drafted from here and there and posted outside their houses. We have 3 lakh paramilitary. I'm just mentioning the statistics. I had 78,000 polling stations, and I know what it was. We must salute the machinery that was created by the first founder, Sukumar Sen, who was drafted from Chief Secretary West Bengal to become the first election commissioner, and he laid down the path so that India's democracy may continue uninterrupted. Now, having said that, I would recommend to both friends on both sides that they read some of the information with pride, the amount of elections we have gone through, the amount of troubles. I remember, sir, in 1999 elections of Atal Bihari Ji, there were floods in Bengal, and my chief election commissioner asked me, "Tum kar paoge?" I said, "Sir, flood with ke? Ye to Bengal mein to hote hi rehte." We held elections on boats. On boats. That's all. People went and voted. We have to go through this. Now, coming to the new bill, and why we stand to oppose. First thing that we need to note in the new bill is the status of the CEC and EC is being deliberately lowered from that of a judge to that of a cabinet secretary. तो इसमें क्या असर है मैं बता रहा हूं इसमें क्या है it is level 17 now under the order of preference a Supreme Court judge is at number 9 of the warrant of precedence. An election commissioner was also there. Now it has been relegated to 9A. Now ये छोटी बात लगती है, but sir, on it depends the parity. On it depends the level at which one can call the other. If the cabinet secretary is equal to the election commissioner, tomorrow the cabinet secretary will not listen to the election commissioner. He said, "Hum barabar hai." You see, don't put danger through innocuous English words into the act. Who can summon whom? So there is a deliberate demeaning of the position of the chief election commissioner and the election commissioner being done deliberately under guise of a few words. Second thing, appointment really boils down to that of PM and his minister. ये 3-1, 2-1 खेल के क्या फायदा? आप बैठ के फाइल पे ही दे दीजिए ना, जिसको मर्जी. Why are we going through the charade? I would submit, sir, after 71 years of conducting elections, God and Parliament has given us an opportunity to rethink. This is not the time to say that Navin Chawla was this and B was this, or Sunil with Arora was this. This is not the time to discuss. We have had good and bad on both sides. And Mr. Qureshi's book is of immense importance. Now, why I find this bill so dangerous, let me explain. In clause 6, it is given that a search committee will be conducted by the cabinet secretary. Fair enough. A search committee, theek hai, in all good spirit. And then in clause 7, they say, after the search committee has given names, it will be decided by a selection committee consisting of Prime Minister, his own minister, and the leader of the opposition. The results are known. Why go through this? The Supreme Court's order gave a strong hint that the Chief Justice of India is perhaps willing to join a body and bring in a certain degree of legitimacy, sacrosanctity, and fairness. That order, that innuendo has been refused. Now, it doesn't matter who the leader of the opposition is at that point of time. I would submit we have two leaders of opposition. Dono ko de dijiye na. At least there will be some amount of intelligent discourse before you can run through. The more dangerous clause, sir, is clause 8. Clause 8 actually says, after all this selection and search committee and all that, says that any person can be appointed as Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner. Now, what a dangerous precedent you are opening. This is a job where I have mentioned some of the dimensions, where I have said we have 10 lakh polling stations. It's an administrative job, and we know what administration is in this. And I have also mentioned the degree of fairness that overcomes. Even Tiwari ji, I think, also mentioned about it. Ki jab wo kartavya aa jate na, tab things become different. We are not clerks and officers at that point of time. Now, having said that, we would insist that you choose the best. Now, there is a subclause here saying that who can be shortlisted? Secretary to the Government of India, somebody who has held the post. I would submit, sir, Secretary to the Government of India is determined by pay scale. Seedhi baat. And tomorrow, a chairman of a cooperative society who has been given that scale and who has conducted elections would fit into the bill. Are you going to bring in someone? Do you think that a huge machinery in every village, in every tehsil, in every block, in every subdivision, in every taluk, in every district of India would be able to run the elections? You are leaving gaping holes. You are leaving gaping holes, and I would submit it is being done deliberately. Now, again, I repeat, in clause 10, the downgrading of the rank takes place. This downgrading is not a question of what shoulder ranks we have, and that's for armed forces. This downgrading is on the power to instruct during elections कि आपको ये करना ही है. That power is getting diluted by diluting the rank, and this is extremely dangerous. I would submit, sir, that Clause 8 or Article 8 is very, very dangerous. I'll read out to you. The Selection Committee of the Prime Minister may also consider any other person.
Please, let it.
Sir,
He's not yielding.
Modi ji, later, you are eating into my time.
Yes, please. Please.
Okay, so if you have brought in an amendment, we shall take a new look at it. Now, taking it in clause 10, I have mentioned clause 10, and I shall wait for the amendment to see what comes up. Now, coming to the Constitution, this is a thing that reflects on Article 324 of the Constitution, which gives, after all the debate that has been held, the power of conducting the elections upon this election commission. And it also makes a subtle difference. And this is where I plead to my fellow legislators to have a look at this. It makes a difference between the CEC and the EC, where the removal is concerned. In other words, an EC can be removed, election commissioner can be removed practically at will without protection. Now you may say, ये theoretical बात क्यों कर रहे हैं आप? मैं बता रहा हूं क्यों theoretical बात कर रहा हूं. This is practical. Do you remember the episode of Ashok Chawla when Sunil Arora was Chief Election Commissioner and was issuing orders that Ashok Chawla as member refused or had doubts? Sorry, Ashok Lavasa, my mistake. Ashok Lavasa was issuing order that was going in for conscientious objections. We all know about it. The going on within the Election Commission is secret, and that is what it should be. But we know from certain acts that Ashok Lavasa was not on the same page with the CEC at that time, and the CEC at that time has set new standards that Naveen Chawla never raised, could never set. That CEC. We have enough material to talk about it. Now, what happened is, the removal here is equated to Supreme Court judge. That is impeachment, which is very difficult. But the ECs remain unprotected. And I thought that this government would have the largeness of heart and the depth of vision to include this protection to them, because an election commission means three persons, not only one who is in the better books of the government. When Ashok Lavasa raised these conscientious questions, he was promoted. He was kicked upstairs, if I may use the word. He was just removed. His family was raided. His son was raided. His wife was called in for questions. My humble submission is that if this gentleman had certain, you know what I mean, then why did you make him? Or did you make him after knowing all this and keeping this information in a pocket कि बाद में इस्तेमाल करेंगे आगे कभी गड़बड़ करें? No, this is not playing fair. I now come to the judgment that has also been mentioned in great detail, but this judgment is very, very pointed. It says that it points out to the whatever I mentioned about the election commissioner being at the mercy of the CEC. It refers to various steps taken to amend the present electoral law, and then uses a word. It becomes the Supreme Court. It becomes imperative to shield the election commissioners and to insulate them from executive interference. A word like this being mentioned by the Supreme Court is indication enough that we should be more judicious with the post. We should be more judicious with the post. Now, coming to the 1991 Act that it seeks to replace, the 1991 Act actually gives them that status that this Act is taking away. So in a way, the 1991 Act was good enough. So the 1991 Act was concentrated mainly on salaries. This one does on the demeaning of status. So my humble submission to all the members.
Let him complete.
Take it. Sir, I need those extra seconds, sir. Am I only... Please pause it. Please pause it. Sir, let me carry on.
And if it is
Point of order.
or not, you can...
Point of
अगर
order.
आपके पास
Please,
कुछ है पहले
please.
बताना था. Not when I'm debating.
Just
अब
point
मैं
of
कहूँ,
order.
sir,
Point
do
of
not
order.
destroy
Mr.
all
Jawahar Sarkar, please
institutions.
point of order. Point of order.
Then sir, pause कीजिए.
Rule.
रूल 240 उसवती महोदय, इन्होंने अमेंडमेंट जो सरकार ने मूव किया है, I think he has not gone through the amended part of the bill. Otherwise, you are saying the old thing. वो उसी पुरानी बात को रिपीट कर रहे हैं और जो amendment मूव हुआ है, उसको उन्होंने पढ़ा ही नहीं है. अगर उसको पढ़ लेते तो उनको बोलने की आवश्यकता नहीं पड़ती. सती मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि जो सरकार ने अमेंडमेंट मूव किया है, उसको उन्होंने पढ़ा ही नहीं और पुरानी बात को बोल रहे हो.
Please.
Sir, let me continue.
A point of disruption.
Please. हाँ, सुखेंदु सेगरा जी.
Has referred to Rule 240 while seeking the point of order.
240.
What does it say?
240.
240. Yes, he mentioned about 240. He mentioned 240. What does it say? I quote, "The chairman, after having called the attention of the council to the conduct of a member who persists in irrelevance or in tedious repetition either of his own arguments or of the arguments used by other members in debate may direct him to discontinue his speech. How come? How come this rule as a point of order to stop my member from delivering speech?
Please.
And the Parliamentary Affairs Minister was supporting.
Manya Sadasyagan, I had to listen what he has to
Sir,
say. The government has already brought amendment. Please.
Sir, sir,
Please.
sir, may I continue?
Yes, please.
थोड़ा बहुत timing भी देखिए.
Please.
अच्छा, now, my submission was the honourable member had mentioned, Mr. Tiwari had mentioned about Naveen Chawla, the secretary of a very powerful person being made the CEC. I refer to the secretary of the current Prime Minister being made to hold the most neutral post in the Constitution of India after the Election Commission, and that is the CAG. Do not destroy every institution. The man who was his right-hand man is today as CAG, and we don't get any reports. थोड़ा बहुत भी दो चार report आ गए, अब बंद किया गया. Now, not only this, when I talk of the destruction of institutions, I go before him when we had, what shall I say, a hero CAG, none of whose presumptive losses could be proved. We have had a hero who got 2 to 3 crores from the BCCI because of whatever.
Please speak on the subject.
Sir, I am talking the destruction of institution. He was followed by a CAG who was charge-sheeted, by CAG, who was brought into a CBI charge sheet.
Mr. Jawahar Sarkarji, we are not discussing
the
CAG.
destruction of institutions. Look at the way they are destroying institutions.
We are not discussing CAG. Please.
I look upon the UPSC. Sir, mujhe कहने दीजिए. I talk about the destruction or the demeaning of the UPSC, where you have got a monk today.
Please come on the subject.
Sir, it is on the subject, the wider scope.
Please,
the ED,
confine yourself to
the misuse of ED and the CBI for absolutely. Okay, sir. I will now come to the last point in this regard, where I would say that the Act had spoken about a fixed tenure. This one also speaks about a fixed tenure, but brings it back at 65. Sir, when I mentioned about the destruction of institutions, all I meant is that among the three constitutional institutions, the UPSC, the CAG, and the Election Commission, they are suffering through the same fate. I just wanted to draw the attention of the ministry and provide empirical proof to prove that they are being hollowed out. Do not touch the Election Commission, sir. Wo CAG on a skate we can tolerate. But the Election Commission will determine the fate of democracy that is coming up. We are all going to be part of its thinking process. There's a leadership that is called for, a huge number of members from the officers and staff of government and para-government officers come up. And when they see somebody they can't respect, sir, I've been there again and again. अगर इज्जत न दे पाए, कुछ न बनेगी. आप जिसको मर्जी अपॉइंट कीजिए. Sir, this will lead to what we call legalization of rigging. Legalization of rigging. We have already found the corrosion, the erosion of the office where EVM is suspect. VVPATs are not stamped. VVPAT are shown to you for a few jhaki darshan and then it goes into the pot. It does not validate my vote. Where you see electoral bonds take over. So there have been many things in the function of the Election Commission that would warrant a fuller discussion. But today we concentrate only on the appointment and the consequential disappointment that this side of the House has to the process by which the entire foundation of fairness are sought to be shaken. Sir, I would still submit that with all these operational faults, the Election Commission is still managing. I would submit that please let it function. Please let the army of election personnel function. Let them not feel that they are led by an obviously political boss for obvious reasons. Do not destroy the
Thank you.
institution and
Thank you.
withdraw those sections that militate against fairness, that actually embed unfairness into the system. Do not legalize rigging.
Thank you. Mani Tiruchi Siva, 7 minutes. 7 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman, sir. Sir, I stand to oppose this bill, for it is undemocratic, unethical.
Please, Sivaji.
Mic is not working. This.
Its mic is functioning. You see, please, your mic. It's already functioning.
Sir, I stand to oppose this bill.
Please, speak. Tiruchi ji, please speak.
For it is undemocratic, unethical, unjustifiable, unacceptable, and Shawl is upsetting. I don't know.
You please speak. You are losing your time.
For it, sir, undermines the very purpose, sir. Sir, any nation will have a head, even it may be ruled by a dictator. But only in a democracy, the people decide who will be the ruler to administer the country. And the unique and supreme indicator or identity of a democratic country is fair and free elections. And for the undercurrent of it is the ballot. Sir, ballot is not a fickle choice. It is the soul of the country. It brings poor and the rich equal. The educated and the uneducated, everyone are equal before when they stand in the polling booth. Moreover, sir, it's we, the Indians, gained it after 200 years of subjugation. It keeps the hope alive in hearts of 140 crore of people. It is a decision, it is a lifeline, and of course, it is a responsibility of the people. Sir, why I am telling much about the ballot paper? It's a hope for a better future, better life, and better India. And the Election Commission is the entity which takes care of the elections, which gives power to the people of this country. And this bill, the Chief Election Commissioner and other Election Commissioners' appointment conditions of service and term of office, geopoliticize this sacred principle of the ballot and values that are part of the constitutional basic structure, such as the rule of law, the right to equality and fair election. It's yet another nail in the coffin for the EC's autonomy by paving the path for appointment of a yes-man as a Chief Election Commissioner to decide the fate of our electoral democracy. Sir, the objection reasons very clearly say the Honorable Supreme Court in writ petition civil number 104 of 2015, Anup Banerwal versus Union of India, declared that the appointment of CEC and EC shall be made by the President on the basis of advice tendered by a committee consisting of the Prime Minister, the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, and in case there is no such leader, the leader of the largest party in the opposition in Lok Sabha, having the largest numerical strength, and the Chief Justice of India. This is very important, sir. It has been clarified that in the aforesaid judgment that the said norm provided by Supreme Court will continue to hold till a law is made by the Parliament. Now, an attempt is made here. We have brought a bill to enact a law. But that bill does not serve the purpose what the Supreme Court has directed. Supreme Court has said there must be a committee comprising of the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, and the Chief Justice of India. Whereas this bill provides a search committee and a select committee. And the search committee consists of only bureaucrats. The secretary in the government, who may be in office, they will comprise the search committee and they will give a panel of members. And the select committee, the bill provides the Prime Minister, the leader of opposition, or the leader who is the major party in the opposition side, if at all there is no leader of opposition, and a union minister appointed by the Prime Minister. Then everything is over. And further it says that to select an election commissioner or the CEC, there need not be a unanimous decision. A majority will be enough. Means very clear. Why this bill? You can very well, jolly well say that whatever the government wishes can be done. Sir, Madam, I would like to say one thing. This government has brought all the bills and legislative laws which I have repeatedly said that don't forget, one day or other you will be in the opposition and you will face the wrath of all the legislation you have done. They think that they will be forever in the ruling party and the treasury benches. So the Prime Minister and the Union Minister appointed by him along with the leader of opposition, what will be the decision? What the Prime Minister and the Union Minister will decide. So their choice will be there. And otherwise, one more thing, other than the members suggested by the search committee, the select committee can appoint anyone else. Then what is the use of the search committee? See, there is a search committee consisting of only bureaucrats, and the select committee has a majority of the government, that is the Prime Minister and the Union Minister, and moreover the search committee's recommendations will be thrown off and they will appoint any other person whom they wish. All are really a farce. So what is the purpose of a bill which is going to become a law? The Chief Justice of India, why not he be a member is a very big question, and why you are bypassing it, only you have to say. What is wrong or what prevents you or objects you by having the Chief Justice of India as a member of the Select Committee? So, I would like to quote Dr. Ambedkar, very, very pertinent. Everyone has to repeat it, no wonder, because he is the architect of our Constitution. The episode reminds us, on June 16th, 1949, during the debates in the Constituent Assembly on the draft Article 289, now Article 324 of the Constitution, dealing with the Election Commission, he precisely said, I quote Dr. Ambedkar, quote, there is no provision in the Constitution to prevent the appointing of either a fool or a knave or a person who is likely to be under the thumb of the executive. Said by none other than Dr. Ambedkar. A day earlier, unquote, a day earlier on June 15, 1949, while moving the draft Article 289 in the Constituent Assembly for setting up an election commission, Ambedkar had observed, quote, without any kind of dissent, that in the interest of the purity and freedom of elections to the legislative bodies, it was of utmost importance that they should be freed from any kind of interference from the executive of the day. But now the executive is having the entire control. The Select Committee can ignore those members, Mike, can ignore the recommendation of the search committee and it can, excuse me, I can just, I don't know, in the winter we cannot wear the shawl because of the mic. This has to be taken note of by the Parliament Office Minister. Article 324 of the Constitution provides that the power of superintendence, direction and control of elections to Parliament, state legislatures, the office of the President of India and the office of Vice President of India shall be vested in the Election Commission. So, Election Commission is not just another entity in the country. This is the foremost. That's why it is chosen to be autonomous, without the intrusion of the government or any other forces from outside.
Thambi.
So, we expect a lot.
Thambi.
Make a pardon? Yes, Solunka. Yes, ma'am. I think I have time. Just 5 minutes more. I have 5 minutes.
7 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I have given the remaining time only.
If I can,
The
I'll give you all
contravention
the
of the
time.
Supreme Court judgment in this bill In the absence of a parliamentary legislation guiding the selection of ECI members, the 5 judgment I told earlier, the Supreme Court laid down interim guidelines. The case challenged the constitutional validity. And now that the recommendations have totally been overlooked by this government through this bill. In 1990, the Dinesh Goswami Committee had made suggestions to ensure independence of the ECI. Number 1, the removal process of CEC and administrative independence of the ECI. So also it has been repeatedly, even in the Supreme Court in 1995, ECs are considered to be at par with the CEC in hierarchy. But now what is happening, the CEC can remove the EC, whereas the CEC can be removed only by an impeachment. Along with all other things, the CEC was earlier on par with the Supreme Court judge. By way of this bill, he has been reduced to on par with Cabinet Secretary.
So they brought amendment.
Okay. Election Commission is a quasi-judicial body. It has a very big authority. So that's a very big question. An amendment has been moved. I think if it is taken up, it will be very well appreciated. So also the global practices can also be adhered. UK has a panel of members of parliament headed by the speaker, not from one party only, invariably from all the other parties. So also South Africa has got a new, another one. So we can follow those things even in America, but whereas this has been done. And I would like to conclude with only one word, ma'am. According to the Mr. S.K. Qureshi, the former CEC, to tackle the major downside of the proposed bill, which is the lopsided selection committee, was to make all its decisions unanimous. That will resolve. But now it says that the majority of the select committee means it's very, very clear. Only the Prime Minister and the Union Minister who is that will be taking the decision. So forming that select committee becomes meaningless, and the search committee's recommendations, if it is ignored, that becomes redundant. So this bill, when it becomes a law, paves way for constituting a search committee and a select committee. Search committee's recommendations become nothing, and the select committee's decision will be unilateral. So the purpose is not solved. So I would suggest to the government, I would urge, what this bill you have brought does not serve the purpose. Better send it to a select committee for a better scrutiny. Stakeholders will come and bring it back with suitable amendments and make it democratic, make it ethical, make it justifiable, and that the selection of the CEC and the election commissioners are transparent and appreciable. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chadha. Mr. Chadha.
क्या बीजेपी भारत देश में निष्पक्ष चुनाव खत्म करना चाहती है? क्या भाजपा की सरकार लोकतंत्र की कोई अहमियत नहीं समझती? क्या भाजपा की सरकार के लिए संवैधानिक संस्थाओं की कोई अहमियत नहीं है? क्या भाजपा सरकार हर संवैधानिक संस्था को अपनी कठपुतली बनाना चाहती है? क्या भाजपा सरकार सुप्रीम कोर्ट के फैसले की कोई सम्मान नहीं करती, उसकी कोई अहमियत नहीं समझती? ये कुछ सवाल हैं जो बिल पढ़ने के बाद मेरे जहन में आए, और वो इसलिए आए क्योंकि इस बिल के माध्यम से ये सरकार चुनाव आयोग को पूरी तरीके से अपने नियंत्रण में लेना चाहती है, यानी कि चुनाव आयोग पे पूर्ण कब्जा चाहती है। मैम, चुनाव आयोग के 3 सदस्य होते हैं, एक मुख्य चुनाव आयुक्त यानी कि चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर और 2 अतिरिक्त इलेक्शन कमिश्नर्स। इनकी चयन और नियुक्ति इस बिल के माध्यम से पूरी तरीके से सरकार के हाथों में आ जाएगी, और वे जिसको चाहें, चाहे वो पार्टी का शख्स हो, यस मैन हो, पार्टी मैन हो, जिस मर्जी को चाहें वे चुनाव आयुक्त बना सकते हैं। चुनाव आयोग की हमारे देश के चुनावों में बड़ी महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका है। किसका वोट बनेगा, किसका वोट कटेगा, ये चुनाव आयोग तय करता है। किस तारीख पर चुनाव होगा, कितने चरण में चुनाव होगा, ये चुनाव आयोग तय करता है। ईवीएम मशीन कहां कहां भेजी जाएंगी, उसका नियंत्रण, उसका मैनेजमेंट, उसका योग, उसका प्रयोग, सारी चीजें चुनाव आयोग तय करता है। तो इसीलिए चुनाव आयोग एक बड़ी महत्वपूर्ण संस्था है इस देश के फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शंस के लिए। Ma'am, I will mince no words. This bill is going to destroy one of the few remaining independent institutions in India, that is the Election Commission, and thereby dislodge free and fair elections from India. ये बिल 3 व्यक्ति या संस्था का अपमान है। पहला अपमान है सुप्रीम कोर्ट का। क्यों? क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इसी साल मार्च 2 को 2 मार्च 2023 को 5 जजों की संवैधानिक पीठ ने सर्वसम्मति से एक फैसला दिया, और वो फैसला यह था कि सरकारी हस्तक्षेप, सरकार का कोई भी दखल चुनाव आयोग की नियुक्ति में नहीं होना चाहिए। ये खत्म करने के लिए हम एक समिति का गठन करते हैं। उस समिति के गठन से मुख्य न्यायाधीश को हटाकर एक कैबिनेट मंत्री को डालकर उसका संतुलन बिगाड़ने का काम और सुप्रीम कोर्ट के फैसले को पलटने का काम इस सरकार ने किया, ताकि एक ऐसी व्यवस्था बन जाए जिसमें जो शख्स ये चाहे वही चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर बनेगा। ये इंसल्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट की इसलिए है क्योंकि इसी साल के दिए गए संवैधानिक पीठ के सर्वसम्मति के 2 फैसलों को इस सरकार ने सदन के भीतर बिल लाकर बदल दिया। पहला था दिल्ली सेवा बिल, जो 8 दिन के भीतर ऑर्डिनेंस लाकर और फिर सदन के भीतर बिल लाकर बदला गया, और एक ये बिल जो 2 मार्च 2023 के सुप्रीम कोर्ट के फैसले को पलटता है और उस फैसले को पूरी तरीके से रिवर्स करने का काम करता है। मैं आपको यह बताना चाहूंगा कि यह सरकार इस बिल के माध्यम से एक प्रकार से सुप्रीम कोर्ट को खुली चुनौती दे रही है कि आपको जो फैसला देना है दीजिए, अगर हमें पसंद नहीं आएगा हम बिल लाकर उस फैसले को पलट देंगे। दूसरा इंसल्ट या अपमान इस बिल के माध्यम से चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया का है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला कहता है कि चयन समिति के 3 सदस्य होंगे, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, माननीय नेता प्रतिपक्ष यानी कि लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन, और थर्ड चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया। इन 3 मेंबरी समिति में से इस बिल के माध्यम से सरकार ने चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया को हटा दिया और एक कैबिनेट मंत्री को उनकी जगह बिठा दिया। चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया से इतना परहेज कि साफ तौर पे उन्हें इस समिति से हटाने के लिए इस बिल को लाया गया। मैं सरकार को याद कराना चाहूंगा कि समय समय पर इलेक्टोरल रिफॉर्म्स के लिए इस देश में कमेटियां बनी और अधिकांश कमेटियों ने यह फैसला दिया, ये रिपोर्ट दी, ये सजेशन दिया कि समिति के भीतर चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया यानी कि इस देश की न्यायमूर्ति को जरूर होना चाहिए, चाहे वो तारकुंडे कमेटी हो, दिनेश गोस्वामी कमेटी हो, वोरा कमेटी हो, इंद्रजीत गुप्ता कमेटी हो, जीवन रेड्डी कमेटी हो, या फिर इसी सरकार की लॉ कमीशन की रिपोर्ट हो। तीसरी इंसल्ट इस बिल के माध्यम से भाजपा सरकार एक ऐसे शख्स की कर रही है जो व्यक्ति भाजपा का संस्थापक थे, जो व्यक्ति आज भी भाजपा के मार्गदर्शक हैं, जो व्यक्ति भाजपा के भीष्म पितामह के नाम से जाने जाते हैं, वो व्यक्ति जो भारत देश के पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री रहे यानी कि लाल कृष्ण आडवाणी जी, पूर्व उप प्रधानमंत्री रहे। मैं 2 जून 2012 को, और मैं राज्यसभा के पटल पे इस लेटर को रखूंगा, 2 जून 2012 को माननीय लाल कृष्ण आडवाणी जी ने उस समय के प्रधानमंत्री डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह को पत्र लिखकर कहा कि चुनाव आयोग की जो भूमिका है चुनावों में बड़ी महत्वपूर्ण है, उसकी नियुक्ति पर एक बहुत बड़ा संदेह, प्रश्न चिन्ह लगा हुआ है और उसकी नियुक्ति सरकार के हाथ में नहीं होनी चाहिए। और वो लिखते हैं, द प्रेजेंट सिस्टम whereby members to the election commission are appointed solely on the advice of the prime minister does not evoke confidence in the people. Keeping these important decisions as the exclusive preserve of the ruling party renders the entire selection process vulnerable and open to manipulation and partisanship. और वो कहते हैं कि समिति 5 सदस्यों की हो जो सीईसी की चयन करे, उनकी नियुक्ति करे, जिसमें प्रधानमंत्री हो, जिसमें लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन लोकसभा हो, जिसमें लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन राज्यसभा हो, जिसमें चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया हो और कानून मंत्री हो, यानी कि 2 सदस्य सरकार के, 2 सदस्य ऑपोजिशन के और 1 न्यायपालिका के। ये समिति बड़ी अच्छी है, यानी कि आडवाणी जी भी चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर की स्वतंत्रता के लिए, चुनाव आयोग की स्वतंत्रता के लिए लड़ते रहे, लेकिन इन लोगों ने आडवाणी जी को भी उनके हक की, उनके अधिकार की बात नहीं दी। आज मैं सदन में दूसरी बार लाल कृष्ण आडवाणी जी के हक की, उनके अधिकार की बात मांगने के लिए खड़ा हुआ हूं। पहला जब उन्होंने दिल्ली सेवा बिल पर कहा था दिल्ली को पूर्ण राज्य का दर्जा दिया जाए, और आज जब उन्होंने कहा